Okay, can all of you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll start. We won't be able to spend too much time today, post the session, since I've got something else to do. So we'll not wait too much. Let people join as and when they come. So for today's class, I hope to finish the exercise on the vowels and consonants part. And if time allows, we are also going to take up some questions. That is one worksheet on the adjectives and adverbs thing. Okay, because all of those don't require a lot of explanation. So we can get started on that as well, right? So just give me a moment. I'll share the screen with you and you can start doing the exercise. Okay. Um, is the screen visible to you?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, all right. So we'll start looking at these exercises today, right? So there are about three short exercises, right? And once we are done with this, we can move on to the next one, right? So the first one is just the identification of the long and short vowels. So I assume that by this time you have had a table prepared for yourself so that you can, those of you are not speaking or have a question, please mute yourself. You don't have to stay on mute unless you know you're answering. Please mute yourself. Right. So the first exercise, guys, please mute yourself. Whoever's mic is on unmute. Okay. So the first one is to identify the long and short vowels. So like I was discussing, you can you should have had a table ready by now. So give me a moment. Some people cannot just, they don't understand things on their own, so we'll have to mute them from our side. Who's this? Okay. All right. So for the first question, we are going to look at the long and short vowels, right? So let's look at this. I am going to read out the word for you. It's already given for your reference there, but we are going to look at it anyway. This is a sound identification thing, so we can just read the words along. If you don't have a table already, good luck, because it would be very difficult for you to answer the questions in the exam. You should have already had a table by now. If you have that, it's easy because you could just contrast the word that is given here with whatever you had in your table and decide whether it is long and short. Okay. So we've discussed enough about this, so I don't want to waste any more time on that. So let's start with the first one, cup, right? So your only task is to identify whether the vowel sound you hear in the given word, to identify whether it's a long or a short vowel. Okay, we are not going to look at anything else, just the long and short part, right? So the first one is cup, right? What is it? Is it a long vowel or a short vowel? Cup. Now you can unmute and answer. Okay. What is
Short
the vowel
vowel.
sound?
Short.
Short vowel,
Short.
right? No confusions, right? So cup has a short vowel, right? Uh, Anybody who's done the table, can you tell me the words that you have created with the short vowel a? No? Okay. All right. So cup has a short vowel, and then the next word, sheet. Sheet,
Long.
long, right? This one has a long sound. So I'm not probing any further because I believe that you must have already done it and you understand. We're just going to go ahead with it, right? Sheet has a long vowel. And the third one is book. Book.
Short.
Short.
Short vowel.
You
Right?
short.
Short vowel. Correct. Okay. So book has a short vowel. Correct. How about pen? Pen.
Short one.
Short vowel. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So short vowel in pen. Next one is curd. Curd.
Short one.
Short vowel.
Curd has short vowel. Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
No. Curd doesn't have short vowel. Curd has a long vowel. Right. Now for that you will have to look at your chart again. If you don't have the chart, then there is no point. But curd has a long vowel, right? So this is like I've already talked to you about this in the previous class and during the live sessions also, right? Whenever the questions on long and short comes up, the only advice is to have this analysis done. So if you're not putting in that effort from your side, this could be a difficult task for you in the exam, right? Curd has a long vowel. Okay. Curd has a long vowel. Now, next one is daughter. Daughter.
Long one.
Daughter has a long vowel, right? It has a long vowel. So ideally what you should have is in the table a counterpart for this as well as the short one so that you can compare between, all the three and see which one is closer to the pair that you've used there, right? Okay. Next one is fruit.
Long
Although
one.
these are all, yes, that's right. This has a long vowel. But the words that have been given here, they're comparatively easier to recognize and understand. Some words could be a little, tricky, which is where, the other practice is going to help you. Okay. Packet. Next one, packet. Packet.
Short.
Long one.
Packet. Packet has what? It has short vowel. It's a sound, which in English, it's a very distinctive sound to English, right? It's a short vowel. Packet. So per-a-kit. Okay, eat. Packet. So this is a short vowel. Next is ka. Ka.
Long one.
This is a long vowel for sure, right? Car has a long vowel. Next is cot. Cot.
Short.
Short, right? This is the shorter counterpart of the sound that you heard in the word daughter, right? So cot, daughter, right? Fit. Next one is fit.
Short one.
This is again a short vowel. Yeah, this is a short vowel. And the last one here is again. Again.
Short one.
Short vowel again, right? So this sound that you hear in again, right? The vowel in the beginning of the word again. The longer counterpart for that is the one that you hear in the word curd, right? Curd. So and these are the long and short counterparts. Not all literature, I mean, not all books may specify it that way, but then for the sake of convenience, we also have something called the received pronunciation, right? We are not following exactly the British or the American or we're not following anything. We're basically looking at the more intelligible or the received pronunciation structure. So if you go by that standards, then this as you hear in again and as you hear in curd, they both are the long and short counterparts, right? Usually in the text that you might read online, they'll only have three sets of long and short vowels. That is the more common one, right? E and E, U and U, and O and O, right? But in addition to that, you can also look at this and as the long and short one. It helps you identify the words better. That's why. Okay. Okay. All right. Now the next one, match the words with the correct vowels. I'll, because we are not going to test you on the symbols, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, pronounce the sounds, right? I'm going to say that each of the vowels, I'm going to be articulating that. So you need to understand the sound. You should listen and then tell me which among the words that you see on the right hand side, right? You see burn, should, cut, just, rough, card, just, bond, beach, pitch, proof, right? So you'll go through those, take a glance at those words there. And as I say the sound, you need to tell me in which word do you locate that sound. Okay, have you understood the question? Any doubts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, everybody. So I'm going to be saying the vowel sound. You need to identify which word in the right-hand side column has a vowel that is same to the one that I have said. Okay, that's the task. Okay, I cannot make it simpler than that. Hopefully you've understood. Fine. Right. So let's begin. The first one, the sound that you need to identify, or the word that you need to identify with the sound is a. A.
Burn.
Mhm.
Burn.
Okay. Any
Kurt.
other answers? Any other answers?
Kurt.
Just.
Just.
Okay. So burn is an answer. Just is an answer. Anything else? Just.
Kurt.
Kurt. Okay.
And
That's
third one.
another answer. Okay. Then anybody? Any other answers? Any other answers? No. That's all.
Rough.
Yeah. Okay. Rough. Right. So now, for your information, rough and just are correct answers. The other answers, burn and Kurt, are wrong. Okay. So it means it has some other sound, and we'll find out what that is. But a as a sound is only present in the word just and rough. So r, a, f. Okay. So rough. J, a, st. Okay. So that's just. Next sound is o. O.
Born.
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 Born. Okay. Okay. Born is one. Any other answers? Born is one. Yes. Born is correct, actually. Born. Yes. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
right? Only
ma'am.
born.
Only
Yeah. Correct.
born.
So only born. Next one is A. A.
Chest.
Jest. Okay. Any other answers? Jest. Okay. Yeah. So just is the only, not just, jest. Right?
Yes.
Just has a, jest has a. Right? Jest and just, both are different. Only jest has the a sound. Now, next one is not a.
Burn.
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 Kurt.
Okay. Burn. Okay. Burn is one. Next.
Kurt.
Kurt.
Kurt is one. Right. So the thing is, your when you say these sounds, particularly this one, your lips are more spread, right? It's not rounded, it's spread. You say Kurt, burn, right? That's how I mean, you don't have these things in detail, which is why we don't go into it. But for the sake of identification, you can say this. As you say the word Kurt and burn, your lips spread, right? That's how you understand this is the one. I mean, physically, not acoustically, but physically. Okay, so burn is one answer, Kurt is one answer. Anything else? No, right? Only those two. Okay. Next is oo. Oo.
Should.
Should.
Should is one answer.
Should.
Yes, correct. Correct. Should is
Roof.
correct. So,
Roof.
which one? Sorry.
Roof.
Uh, Roof. Yeah. Okay. No. Roof. You tell me. Does it have oo sound?
No, ma'am. It says
No.
oo.
It's a long oo, right? It's not oo. So only should has the oo sound. Okay. Roof has long oo. Oo. So that's roof and should. Should roof. One with short and the other with long. Okay. So next is E. E.
Beach.
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 Yes, correct.
Beach.
Beach. Beach is
Beach.
correct. Yes. And what is
Beach.
the shorter counterpart for that in the list
Pitch.
you have?
Word.
Pitch.
Pitch.
Right? Pitch, which is the E sound. The last one in the list on the left hand column is short E. So that is in pitch. Okay. Okay. Next is O. O. O sound. Do we
And can
have
you repeat it again?
O? O sound.
Born.
Born is long O, right? We are done with that.
Card.
No, that also we discussed. That's a long sound.
Ma'am,
Is-
caught. Just
Ah,
like what?
that's what we just said. That's a long sound.
Ma'am, there is no word.
Yeah, there is no word. There is no word in the list. With O sound, you don't have any word in this list which carries the short O sound, right? But if I ask you to give me a word, what could that be?
Caught.
Caught.
Bought.
Caught or pot, okay, or hot, right? All of those are examples.
Slot.
Which one? Sorry, short. Is that what you said?
Slot. Slot.
Lot.
And
Okay.
slot.
Slot.
Slot. SLOT.
Okay, slot. Slot. Slot may not have the shorter sound. It's a diphthong most probably. Okay, we'll check. I think it's a diphthong. I'll let you know. Okay. All right. So that is O, and the next one is O. We already discussed the long one. Then there's ah,
Cart.
cart, right?
Cart.
Yeah, I'll tell you something more about this. The consonant r and other consonant combinations, but you're correct. The identification is correct. The word cart has the sound a, cart, right? Cart. Now, the last one here would be you have a word. You can check if it has one.
Ma'am, I don't think there is one.
No, there is none, right? We don't see anything here. But in the previous question, you had it in the word again, right? So this is this is a very special sort of a vowel in English. It is the only unstressed vowel. Usually, all vowel sounds in English they're stressed. English is a stress time language, right? So you'll learn more about what stress time means in the later modules. But every vowel sound is stressed in English, right? So as in when they appear in a word, that particular part, that is the vowel sound, is always stressed in the given syllable, right? But this one vowel is an unstressed vowel. Why we call it unstressed? Because it is, it is almost negligible in its, articulation, that it's so feeble that people can't even hear it properly. It gets mostly lost in speech, right? So, this is also that particular vowel which you lose when we form consonant clusters, right? You probably already have listened to the lecture on consonant cluster. This is that vowel which you lose, okay, when clusters are formed between consonants. But it is, although this is the case, it is unstressed and there are many other properties to it. People also call it a negligible sound. Given all these things, it's still a very, very important sound in English, right? It's found in abundance. Many words in English would carry this sound. Okay, now we move on to the last exercise, right, for this one. Write down the corresponding vowels in each of the words below. Now, this is for you to work on, right? So I'll just say the word. You need to tell me what is the vowel that you hear there. You should also tell me whether the vowel sounds that you're going to give me is long, short, or if not long and short, if it's a diphthong, right? So 3 things. When you're giving me the vowel sound, tell me if it is long or short. And if they're not the pure vowel, then you should tell me if it's a diphthong, right? So we'll start. The first one is flout.
It's a
Flout.
diphthong.
It's a
It's a
diphthong, right?
diphthong.
Yeah, so it's
Yes,
a
ma'am, it's
diphthong.
a diphthong.
Correct. Bow, the next one. Bow,
Diphthong.
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 Okay. Shell.
Diphthong.
Short one.
Short vowel. It's a short A sound, right? Shell. Next is shale.
Long vowel.
Short one.
Which short
Long
vowel?
vowel. Long
E.
E.
Shale. You should hear properly. Shale. I'm not saying shell, right? I'm saying shale. And we don't have a long A, by the way, in English. So, shale.
Ma'am, it will be short E. Right?
Okay. No, short E. No. If it's short
No,
E,
ma'am,
then it should
E.
be chill.
E.
Huh?
Okay, ma'am. It's a
E.
diphthong, right?
It's a diphthong. Shale.
Yeah.
A sound, right? A. Shale. Right? As in day or table. So this is shale. It's a diphthong. Shale. Okay. Okay. Now you have float. 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 Not float, not float, float.
Short vowel.
Hmm.
Short vowel. O.
Short vowel, yes, short, okay, but what is it? What is it?
O.
Float. Okay, you listen to me carefully before you answer, right? You need to register. Float. Float.
It's O.
Did I say float? I said float. Float. This is a diphthong, the O sound. Okay, so I told you in English, the O sound is not very similar to ours, right? None of the sounds that it is, manifested as is similar to the O sound you have in our language.
Ma'am,
It has
like
O.
go.
Yes, like go or no. Okay, so this is float, not float, right? Not float. I know we say it as float because of our mother tongue interference, but float, right? So it's a diphthong. Okay, next one is bait. Sorry?
Ma'am,
Diphthong.
Okay, bait is yes, it's a A sound and it's a diphthong, correct. Okay, now bite, bite, bite,
diphthong.
diphthong, right? I sound, I, diphthong. Okay, next one is easy, caught, caught,
Short vowel.
short vowel, right? Short
Short
vowel.
vowel.
Okay, next is boy,
Diphthong.
boy,
Diphthong.
Diphthong.
diphthong, diphthong. Next one, listen carefully, show, show,
Long.
Long.
long vowel, right? Long, correct. Cheer, cheer,
Long vowel.
cheer. Listen, cheer.
Diphthong.
Diphthong.
It's short.
Diphthong, cheer, right? Ear. So
Ear.
diphthong. Yeah. Next is cat. Cat.
Short vowel.
Short vowel.
Short
Next is same. Hat.
Short
vowel.
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 Short vowel.
Next is whist. Whist.
Short
Whist.
vowel.
Short vowel. Right? And the next is vest. Vest.
Short
Short one.
Short
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 vowel.
vowel.
vowel again. Right? Short vowel again. Okay. Next, be careful with this again. Coat. Coat.
Long vowel.
Coat.
Diphthong.
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 Diphthong, right? Didn't say caught or caught, right? You said coat. Coat. So this is diphthong. Sand. Sand.
Short.
Long vowel.
Short vowel.
Short vowel. Sand, right? As in cat and hat. So sand. Pool.
Long vowel.
Pool.
Long vowel.
Long.
Long vowel. Long vowel. And pull would be pull.
Short vowel.
Short.
Short
vowel.
Short, right?
Vowel.
Yes.
Short vowel.
Next is send. Send.
Vowel.
Long.
Send.
Short vowel.
Send. Send is
Short
short. Okay. Short vowel.
Short.
Send is short vowels. A, N, and D. Send. Hut.
Men.
Hut.
Short
Next
vowel.
is
Short
hut.
vowel.
Short vowel. Correct.
vowel.
Hut is short vowel. And the last one is coat. Coat.
Diphthong.
Okay.
Long.
Listen again. Coat. I didn't say coat, right? I said coat. This is, this is a, no, not short. You were right. Someone answered it correctly. Long vowel. Okay. As in daughter. So coat. Okay. So this is this basically is what? A coat of law. Coat of law. This is that coat. And this is a long vowel. The sound that you hear is a long vowel, right? Now, all of this would have been, especially, the long and the short one, definitely is going to be settled with your table and the comparison, right? Diphthongs, everything else is fine. Only the one which has the O sound, right? Which is the counterpart of the O and the O. That can be a little tricky, but not very difficult, right? Now, there's a question for you, but this is not for the class. This is only for you to think about, right? So it says, could you try deducing a pattern in the spelling of words? Although there is no one-to-one correspondence, between sounds and letters as such in English, but there may be a few words which may be, patterned based on that. So this is something that you can look up for yourself. But remember, every time you have a rule deduced like this, it may not be applicable to the whole lot of words you have in English, right? A maximum of 80 to 85% of words could be following the rule, right? And like I told you last time, the reason behind this is that English has a lot of borrowed terms from other languages. So this is why consistency could be a little weak as opposed to our languages. But still, it doesn't mean you cannot deduce a rule. Almost 80-85% of the words could fit in that. So you can think about it, right? Not for you to do anything now. Just make a note of this question somewhere if you're interested, and you try working on it when you're like bored or something, right? Okay. So, right.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ma'am, is there such thing as long diphthong and short diphthong?
No, there's nothing called long diphthong and short diphthong. Diphthong is, it's a distinct sound system by itself. It has nothing to do with short and long. But some people may say that, this is a long sort of a vowel, but that's not true. Okay. It doesn't have the acoustic property of a long vowel. It's diphthong is just diphthong. That's all. Okay. But in the question, in the exam, if you're asked a question of, if you have a pattern like, how many long vowel or short vowel in this, and then if you have a word which has got a diphthong in it, then you're going to answer it as a short vowel. Right. So, for example, if you have a word like flirt, right, and if the question asks you the following word has no long vowel, one long vowel, the answer would be no long vowel. Okay. So, which means we are identifying it as short vowel for our course, although it is neither. Okay. For this course, we look at it as short, but in actuality, this particular sound doesn't have a short or long distinction, right? Keep that in mind. Okay. This is not a long vowel. Diphthongs are not long vowels. Please keep that in mind.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, sure. No problem. Consonant clusters, I think you can take a look at this document at your end. This is self-explanatory. Since there are no questions to answers, I'm just going to leave it at it. Syllables and aspiration, because we don't have it now. I think the initial runs we used to have syllables and aspiration along with this particular module. Now we have moved it to a separate module. So we won't take up the syllables and aspiration, but consonant clusters alone, you can, take a look at this, right? Which among the possible following are possible words in English. So we actually deduce the possible words in English based on what we know is an allowed cluster in English, right? So you know enough English to understand which among the given words could be a word and which is a non-word, which is not a possible word in English. Once you've done that, you can look at the CC means consonant cluster of two consonant sounds, right? So 2CC, two consonants in cluster allowed in the beginning of the word, and then consonant cluster of two consonants allowed in the end of the word. So the clusters that are allowed are just marked. You can take a look at them, right? That's all. We're not going to discuss anything further than that. When you have the document, whenever you have time, please take a look at it, right? Okay. Any other questions based on this? Because I'm going to move on to the parts of speech. So any questions you have on this, please ask me now. Maybe a minute or two. Anything? Any confusions? Any confusions? Yes, no,
No, ma'am.
no, right? Okay. So if that's the case, then we can, move on to the next part, right? I am not looking at the chats as of now. PDFs available on the supplementary tab section. You need to check that part, right? And okay, so let's go and choose the next thing that we want to do today. We are going to be looking at the adverbs and adjectives, right? So let's do that today. Let me open the document. Okay, so until I do that, can you give me your understanding about adjectives and adverbs? What are they and what do they do? Somebody, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Ma'am, screen is not visible.
Yeah, screen is not visible. It will be visible in some time, but I'm asking you a question. You can meanwhile answer that, right? Yeah, what do adjectives and adverbs do?
They describe noun, pronoun, or anything.
Noun, pronoun, or anything. And what is that? Which word describes noun, pronoun, and other?
Adjective.
It describes pronoun.
Adjectives, right? So adjectives can describe anything that is nominal in nature. By nominal, I mean something that has noun-like properties. So nouns are a part of that. Pronouns are a part of that. Or any segment which is nominalized can also be described or modified or qualified by adjectives, right? So that is the task of adjective. Now, what do adverbs do?
Adverbs can describe
Describe the word.
It can describe the verb. Just verb alone?
adjectives too.
Adjectives.
Adjectives and
Any
adverbs.
type of it themselves.
Right. So three things: verbs, adverbs, and adjectives, right? So an adverb can modify or qualify three things, namely adjective, verb, and another adverb, right? So commonality between both of them would be that they're both modifiers. Both have the task of modifying another segment, but there's a difference in the segment that it modifies. So adjectives need to modify the noun. Adverbs, on the other hand, will modify verbs, adverbs, and adjectives, verbs, and another adverb, right? So this is all. You don't have to know anything more about the adjective part. So this is the function. Let me share the screen. I just need to get. Okay. Do you see the screen now clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've signed into the phone. So those of you can Zoom and zoom in and out. You can do that. If you're using a phone, I'm not sure with the laptop. I think there's a way, but I'm not very much aware of it, right? But I think it's clear enough. Most of you would be able to see. Okay, so those brackets just talk about what we just discussed, right? About what's an adjective and an adverb. So just quickly read through, right? An adjective is a part of speech that modifies a noun or pronoun or anything that is nominalized. They usually tell what kind, how many, or which about nouns or pronouns, right? So we are not giving you any terms, right? We're not naming it anything. In traditional grammar books, they'll have some name, right? So what kind? So they'll have definite, indefinite adjectives, right? Numeral adjectives, positive adjectives, negative adjectives, right? All sorts of demonstratives, distributives. We don't have to know them. They are not going to help us in doing anything, right? These are for people who are writing descriptives. So when you're learning English, you don't have to know all those names. You just need to know that these are adjectives and what do they do. So this is basically what adjectives usually, the kind of adjectives that we have in any language usually do this function. They tell you what kind, how many, or which about nouns or pronouns. That's all. Okay. And an adverb is a part of speech that modifies another adverb, a verb, or an adjective. Okay. They usually describe an action in terms of how, when, where, and to what extent. There are more aspects to it. I have mentioned only 4. So it can talk to you about how something has happened, an action has happened, when it has happened, where it has happened, why it has happened, right? To what extent has it happened? To what frequency has something happened, right? All of this is the role of the adverb. The adverb tells you everything, which I just mentioned about the verb in the sentence. Okay. All right. Now let's start with the exercises. I hope to, cover these prepositions. We may not get time today to complete. That we can do in the next class. Maybe prepositions and articles, both we can take up next week. But I think there is time enough for us to do this exercise, right? Choose the correct item. So first question, Meenal, correctly explain the terms. The answer sounded correctly correct. Okay, before we start with the exercise.
Correctly.
Okay, yeah, just a moment. Before I start with the exercise, just confirm with me for adjectives. Do you have the attributive and predicative adjectives in the lecture?
Yes, ma'am.
You have attributive and predicative. Okay, so let's discuss about that then, because that's important. Attributive adjectives, what are they? So if I say she's a
Ma'am,
good
which
Are
girl,
attributive and descriptive adjectives same thing only?
not descriptive. You have attributive and predicative. Right? There are two kinds. There are many more kinds, but we're not discussing that. But predicative and attributive is based on the structural difference, as in based on the position where the adjective appears in a sentence. Okay, it has got nothing else to talk about it. Attributive and predicative are based on where the adjective appears in the sentence. Okay, if it appears close to the noun that it modifies, then it's attributive adjective. Like if I say she is a good girl, right? So here the adjective is, what's the adjective? She is a good girl.
good. Good is the
Good.
adjective.
Right, good is
But
the adjective.
the sir said that the attributive adjectives are those which precedes the noun, not come closer, which precedes the noun.
Well, that is what he meant by it, right? If it precedes the noun, basically means it stays closer to the noun, right? It's called attributive because it attributes the noun which is right next to it, right? It's the same thing put in different words. That's all. Okay. So if it appears closer to the noun, that is, if it is along with the noun, like the she is a good girl, right? So it is an attributive usage of the adjective good. But if I say the girl is good, right? The girl is good, then this is what? This is a predicative use of the adjective good, right? So it doesn't appear closer to the noun. It's a little removed from it, but then it's still an adjective modifying that given noun, which is girl. Okay. So good girl, she is a good girl. Good is an attributive adjective, right? And she is good. Is good. The good is used as a predicative adjective. Understood the difference, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all. That's all you need to know. Okay. Yeah. So your first answer, Meenal, correctly explain the terms.
Correctly.
Correctly, right? Because here what you need to modify is the verb. Explained is the verb, and you cannot choose correct because correct is an adjective. So the word that modifies a verb is an adverb, and hence you choose correctly, right? Not correct. The answer sounded correctly correct?
Correct.
Correct. Now, what use is this? Is attributive or predicative use of adjective?
Predicative.
Predicative use. Okay, this is the predicative use. The answer sounded correct. When take the correct answer, you say the answer sounded correct. Okay, fine. Second one, Maya quick adjusted the fees.
Quickly.
Quickly adjusted, right? Adjusted is your verb, so quickly adjusted the fees. She adapted quickly to any situation.
Quickly.
Adapted
Quickly.
quickly. Again, there is nothing else that you need to qualify here. It's again the verb. So quickly to any situation. Third one, I measured the floor exactly.
Exactly.
I measured the floor exactly, right? How did you measure? Exactly. Right. They were of perfectly perfect, exactly measurement.
Perfectly perfect.
Perfectly exact measurements.
They were of perfectly
Perfectly exact.
exact measurement, right? So you have both usage, you have both your adverb and your adjective. So perfectly is the adverb which qualifies the adjective exact, which in turn qualifies the noun measurements. Okay, got it. They were of perfectly exact measurements. Right. Fourth one, see, if there's anyone with any sorts of confusion, you should ask me. Otherwise, we just move on thinking that, you know it. Right. Next is, the stillness of the valley was awful.
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 Stillness of the valley was awful. Right here. Now, what kind of usage is this? Is predicative or attributive usage of the adjective awful?
Predicative.
Predicative.
Predicative. Correct. Right. Now, the valley was awful still.
Awfully.
Awfully still. Right. Awfully still. How was the valley? It was awfully still. Okay. The fifth one. It was a dangerously dangerous mountain to climb, and the man was dangerously drunk.
Dangerous.
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 Correct. It was a dangerous
Dangerously.
mountain. Yeah, dangerous mountain to climb, and the man was dangerously drunk, right? One
Yes, ma'am.
qualifying the noun, and then the next qualifying the
Verbs.
verb, right? Drunk, correct. 6. She danced magnificently. Everyone said that it was a magnificently performance.
She danced
Magnificent.
First and magnificent
Magnificently.
performance.
Second, magnificent.
Okay. So she danced magnificently. Everyone said that it was a magnificent performance. The first one adverb and the second one adjective. Right. 7th one. Her voice sounds beautifully beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Her voice sounds beautiful. This is again what? What kind of usage of adjective?
Predicative.
Predicative.
Again, predicative. Correct. She sang the song exactly as it was written.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly as it was written. Right? Exactly as it was written. Correct. We heard it perfectly. Perfect.
Perfectly.
Perfectly.
Right? We heard it perfectly. Right? All of them qualifying the second and the third one following the qualifying the verb, and the first one the noun. Okay. 8th one.
मैम
They
इन
was
सेवेंथ वन
Sensible.
एग्जैक्टली में कौन सा फॉर्म ऑफ वर्ब है? ओ सॉरी एडजेक्टिव.
exactly is what for. Acha, okay. She sang the song as it was written. She sang the song exactly as it was written. This is not adjective, no adverb, right? So this adverb of manner. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. 8th one. Dave was a very sensible person.
Sensible.
Sensible.
Sensible person.
He was a very sensible person. There is another adverb in this sentence. Can you tell me what it is? Dave was a very sensible
Very.
person. Very, right? Very is also an adverb. This is an adverb of degree, right? Okay. Now he acted very
Sensibly.
Sensibly.
right?
Sensibly.
So here, correct. Sensibly. 9th one. Mayank wrote too slowly on the exam.
Slowly.
Slowly.
Wrote how slowly, right? Wrote too slowly on the exam. He always writes slowly.
Slowly.
Do you say
Slowly.
slowly? Right. Whenever the verb is being qualified, it has to be always the adverb. So slowly. He always writes slowly. Right. I put this in because in the Indian context, people have a habit of saying he writes slow. Right. So that's not how it works. Slow is an adjective. You need to say slowly. It doesn't sounds perfect to a lot of us because it's been so overused now, but the actual way of writing, when you speak, it is okay. Many errors just, can be evaded. But then when you write, you need to make sure that, things are in place. So it's always better to learn it the right way. He always writes slowly. The next one is also an example of how Indian English functions, right? Now, some people would say that is fine, but for a course on English, maybe we don't let it pass just like that, right? So talk softly or soft, or don't talk at all.
Softly.
Softly, right? Have you heard people saying talk soft? Yeah.
No, ma'am.
In Indian English, we have this in common. I have heard people say this, talk soft, right? So talk softly is the right way. Talk softly or don't talk at all. The music played softly, so
Softly.
Softly.
right? Softly, correct. Okay. Akash knows the lesson very well.
Well.
Very well.
Very well. Now, well is something that can be used both as an adjective and adverb. There are words like that which can qualify both as adjective and adverb. And well is an example of that. So it's the context that tells you whether you should be using the adverb or the adjective. So in this case, it's about what? Akash knows the lesson very well. What are we trying to qualify here? How
Adverb.
does he know? Right? Yeah. The verb. We are talking about how
Knows.
he. Yeah. The manner in which the guy knows the thing, right? So that is well. So well here is used as an adverb, not an adjective. Okay. Now, next is she always treats us good or well.
Well.
Good.
Good.
Well.
She always treats
Good.
us
Good.
good. Good is an adjective. It cannot be used. Good is an adjective alone. You cannot be using the word good as an adverb. And it has to be well here because you're talking about how she treats, right? So it's the verb that is being qualified. So again, you'll use well, not good. So she always treats us well.
Okay, ma'am.
12th one. You must send payments regularly.
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 You must send payments regularly. Okay, regularly. We deal on a strict cash basis.
Strict. Cash basis.
We deal on a strict cash basis.
Strict.
Strictly.
Strictly. We deal on a strictly cash basis. This is also another mistake that we see in our,
Ma'am,
English.
here
Strict
is
cash
the
basis.
cash basis is qualified or the deal?
Deal, of course. How do you deal? Strictly on a cash basis, right? We deal on a strictly cash basis. How do you deal? On a strictly cash basis. Okay. Strictly is not a qualifier for the cash basis. I mean, strict cannot be a qualifier for cash basis. Strict cash basis. No. Strictly cash basis. Okay. It's about how you deal in payments. Fine. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
13th one. Yeah. 13th one is the mechanic's tools were good.
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 Right? Good. And
Well.
you qualify not well, it's good because you're qualifying the adjective here, sorry, the noun here, right? The mechanic's tools, right? And in this context, although well can be used as an adjective, in this context, you don't say the tools are well, right? You can use it in an animate context maybe, but not in the context of something that is an inanimate object. So the mechanic's tools were good, not well. Okay. The foreman said that his work was good,
Good.
well done.
Well done.
Well done.
Well
Well
done.
done.
The foreman said that his work was well done. In both cases, adverb, right? Well is used as an adverb, both cases. 14th one, she worked carefully with the sick old man.
Carefully.
Carefully.
Worked carefully with the sick old man, correct. And she was a very carefully worker.
Careful.
Careful.
Was a very careful worker. Okay, correct. Next, he did not lift the weight as easily as he thought he would.
Easily.
Easily.
As easily as he thought he would. Right, correct. I find this documentary very interestingly.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I find it very interesting. Right now, interesting is what it is?
Adjective.
Adjective.
Adjective, right? Adjective.
Predicative.
Yeah, and it's predicative. Okay, find this very interesting. Correct. Predicative use. It was interestingly short.
Interestingly.
Interestingly short, right? This is an adverb again. Okay, so I hope you've got the distinction between how adverbs and adjectives function, right? So this is all you need to know about them as far as the functional use is concerned. Okay, any questions? We still have some time, about say 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes more. So tell me if you have any questions. If not, then I'll just give you a brief on prepositions. We'll not do the exercises, but then we can just talk about what prepositions can do. Okay. You think about it if you have a question. Otherwise, we can talk about prepositions. Shall I talk about prepositions?
Yes,
Do you have
ma'am.
questions? Yeah. So, okay. So I'll just give you a brief on, what prepositions are, right? They are very important part of any languages. In English, you have prepositions, but in our languages, you will have postposition, right? The common word that you use for preposition is adposition, right? So some languages may have preposition like in English, right? It would precede the noun, but in our languages, you have something called postpositions, which means it's going to appear after the noun, right? Whichever it is, whether preposition or postposition, these category of words, they signify the relation between two nouns, okay? Or they talk mostly about nouns. They have got nothing to do with any other element in the sentence. Just like your adjectives, prepositions also are closely related to nouns. So for example, they tell you something about the placement of the noun, where it is placed or what time something has happened, right? or, in which direction something has happened, right? Or many more things. So if you talk about prepositions, you can roughly, right? We don't have that classification in the lecture, but if somebody asks you, what can prepositions do to the nouns, or what can they talk about? In case of nouns, you can say a few things that I'm just going to talk about. So the main thing would be time, right? Place, direction, position, right? It can also talk to you about manner, okay? Some people would also say prepositions will tell you about the movement, right? All of this would be the area that prepositions can work on, right? So, in general, most commonly, you use the preposition to show time, space, and position, right? So we'll discuss like 2 or 3 prepositions in particular for, now. We'll look at the other ones in detail when we take up the exercise. But, the most commonly used prepositions in English would be to show time, space, and direction, right? Or time, place, and direction. And the commonly used one would be, can you comment on them? One is in, the other one is on, and then there's one more which is at, right? The most commonly used one would be in, on, at, right? And in, on, at are a little special in the sense that you can use these in, on, at to show both time, place, and direction, right? So these space, that is, right? So because all 3 of them are used in all the 3 types, right, to all the 3 functions, they can become a little, tricky at some times, right? So let me demonstrate that. So if I have a sentence like, the apple is on the table, what does this on signify? In the sentence, what does this on signify?
It's kept on top of table.
On top of the table. So it shows what?
Position.
Place.
Is it place? Yeah, correct. So place, right? It shows where something is kept, on the table, right? When I say the assignment is due on Monday, what is that?
Preposition of
Time.
time.
Position.
Preposition of time, right? So on showing preposition of time, on showing preposition of place, right? Similarly, if I take the example of in, for example, right? I say, I will go for the swimming classes in summer. What does it signify?
Preposition of time.
Time.
Preposition of time again, right? Temporal. So time. And if I say, my father is working in the fields, then my
Preposition
father
of
is
place.
working
Position of place.
place, right? So in the field. Okay, let's take another example with the same thing, right? Now we've just discussed in and on, right? And I'm going to bring in at, right? I say, I am in the office. And I say, I am at the office. What is the difference between them?
Place.
So in and at, again, in and at, in can be used to show place. It can also show time, right? That's also possible. But look at these 2 examples that I'm giving you, these 2 sentences. I am in the office and I am at the office. Okay, which one is correct?
At the office.
At the office is correct? How about in the
No,
office?
ma'am. In the office.
Okay, in the office is correct or at the office is correct?
I'm at
Which
the
one is
office.
correct? At the office.
At
In
the
the office is incorrect?
And
Is
I
it?
think both can be correct.
Both can be correct. So what is the difference then? You're right. Both can be correct. Then what is the difference between the 2?
In
In
sounds
means
as if
we
the person is inside the building or inside the office, and the
Hmm.
at sounds as if he's in the vicinity,
Hmm.
in the
So
in the
you should be
premises.
saying that in the first case, when you use in, it specifies the space, right? This is an attribution to the space. You use in preposition. In the first example that we, I'm in the office, means I'm talking about the space I am, occupying, right? I'm inside the office. That's what it means. Okay, within the space of the office. To put it the other way around, I am within the space of the office. That is, I'm in the office. When I say I'm at the office, I'm basically saying that I am in the premises of the office. I'm not inside, but I'm at the premises, right? So this is the difference. Both can be right. Now, particularly with categories like prepositions, you're going to see that there are words which are going to have multiple meanings. They can be used in different syntactic categories, different grammatical categories, each with its own separate meaning. So to begin with, we have this one expression, which is in and at, which can be true for both the sentences, both right grammatically, but with differences of meaning, right? One is about the space that the person occupies. The other is about, again, the space, but not an occupied or an enclosed space. It's an open space, right? When I say at, I mean it's a more open space, right? Okay. So these kind of differences exist in the use of prepositions, particularly the in, on, and at. We'll have few questions on that as well for the next class. But other prepositions, they are more of collocations, right? By this time, I think you must have had that chapter on collocation. So, like you can't say differentiate for, right? You have to always say differentiate between, right? Or relevant, interested in. Okay, so these are all again prepositions, right? Between, in. These are all what we call as grammatical collocations. So there is no logic or there is no explanation to why it is so. Okay, why should you only say differentiate between and not something else? Why should you always say interested in, not any other preposition? No answer to that question. If somebody asks me, why is it like that? These are what we call as conventional standards in language use, right? So this is not grammatical. These kind of things, although when you write in a sentence, it has grammatical significance. It is more based on the practical or the conventional use of the language, right? So there's no point of asking a question like why. Why is it interested in and not interested of, right? So some of those prepositions we'll discuss in the next classes. You know, what are these ones which are conventional in use, and what are the ones which can be used based on its understanding of usage, right? Like the ones which we just discussed, in, at, on. Okay. Largely, what are these things? You should understand that they show relationships with the nouns in the sentence, right? They signify the relation of one noun to the other in the given sentence. And it's only nouns. Nouns or pronouns. I mean, whenever I say noun, it also means, you know, I'm talking about pronouns. Okay, don't forget that. Right? Okay, any other question? I'm not taking up the activity, but I'm just giving you a, quick introduction to prepositions. So you should also read a little bit. Read in the sense, please read the slides and, go through the exercises. So when you come to the class next time, you'll have more questions. We will take up prepositions and articles both. We'll take them together in the next class so that we have, some portions covered for the, covered before you go to the qualifiers. Okay. When is the qualifier? Is it next week? Or the week after? Sorry?
No, it's on 27.
27. So which means the week after, right? Not next week. Okay. Right. So please read this up and come back. We'll look at the activities in the next class. Okay?
Okay,
So
ma'am.
if we don't have any questions, we can close for today. Okay. All right, then. See you all next week again.
Okay.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.